This lesson is on properties of numbers. It is 2.1. It is on pages 64 through 68 in your book. And we are going to look at some properties of addition and multiplication. The first property is called the commutative property. And the commutative property says that changing the order does not change the sum or the product. So 6 plus 4 is the same as 4 plus 6. And 9 times 5 is the same as 5 times 9. The associative property of addition and multiplication says that changing the grouping of the values does not change the sum of the product. So if we had three numbers, 2 plus 3 plus 5 in parentheses, it is the same value as 2 plus 3 in parentheses plus 5. So we know that 3 plus 5 is 8, and 2 plus 8 would equal 10. 2 plus 3 is 5, and 5 plus 5 equals 10. So it doesn't matter about the grouping. The same would occur with multiplication. So if we were to do 6 times 7 is 42, and it would be 5 times 42, which would equal 210. And if we do 5 times 6, which is 30, 30 times 7 would equal 210. So the value doesn't change even though we've grouped them differently. The last two properties we're going to discuss are the additive and multiplicative identity, or the identity properties of these numbers. The additive property of addition says that any number plus 0 equals that number. So 5 plus 0 equals 5. The identity property for multiplication says that any number times 1 is going to equal that number. So n times 1 is equal to n. We're back to check your work. The first problem says, name each property shown. So the first one was 27 plus 6 is equal to 6 plus 27. And that is the commutative property. The second one said 0 plus 8 equals 8. And that would be the identity property of addition, or if you wrote the additive identity, that's fine. The third one was in parentheses 6 times 15 times 2 is equal to 6 with 15 times 2 in parentheses, and that was the associative property. Then they showed you that in algebraic, so they did 12r, or 12 times r, and then s on the outside is equal to 12 times r times s on the inside. So that is also the associative property. The identity property of multiplication was number 5. 999 times 1 is equal to 999. And then they did the commutative property for number 6 with pictures, the commutative property of multiplication. So a circle times a triangle is the same value as a triangle times a circle. All right, so that would be, again, the commutative property. In number 7, they told you to which two numbers would you combine first? And we talked about this is where we talk about one of the reasons that we use these properties is to make our work easier. So if we had the numbers 5 plus 36 plus 95, we would use the commutative property. We would use the commutative property, and because 95 and 5 are easiest to add, that would be 100, and then you would know it is 136. For number 8, we had 5 plus 5 times 17 times 2. So we would multiply 5 times 2 and get 10, and 10 times 17 would be much easier to multiply. Then in number 9, it was 50 times negative 2 times 43. So of course we'd multiply 50 times negative 2 to get a negative 100, and then multiply it times 43. So that's because it's the easiest thing to do. Then number 10, they ask you to use mental math to simplify each expression. So the first one was 10 times 13 times negative 10. So you should have done negative 10 times 10 is negative 100 times 13 would be a negative 1300. And number 11, it was negative 15 plus 85 plus 23. And a negative 15 and 85 would be 70. 70 plus 23 would be 93. Number 12, they ask you to use 25 plus 157 plus a negative 75. So 25 plus negative 75 would have been a negative 50, and negative 50 plus 157 would equal 107. Number 13, they ask you 5 times negative 20 times 66. So you should have done 5 times negative 20 is a negative 100 times 66 to get negative 6600. And number 14, it was 140 plus 70 plus negative 60. And a negative 60 and 140 would be 80, and 80 plus 17 would be 97. And then the last one, 30 times 6, and 30 times 30 would be 900, times 6 would be 5400. So that is using the properties. If you have any questions about this, I'll see you in class tomorrow, and you can talk to me about it. Okay, bye.